There are many shotguns in Rainbow Six Siege, so in today's video, I'll be showing you what the best ones are by going over what shotgun is the worst to the best. Before we get started in today's tier list, I do want to mention one thing. I will not be going over any of the slug shotguns, that being the TCSG, the ACS-12, or the Boss G. They don't really do the job of other shotgun, and they more play like a DMR, which is why I won't really be quantifying them in today's video. I also will be going over the secondary shotguns, so make sure you stick around for that. Because at the start of F tier, at the bottom of our list, we have the Bailiff. Now, do not get me wrong, I don't actually think the Bailiff is a bad shotgun for making rotates or for making sight setup. It's actually pretty nice to use. The only issue with the Bailiff is that it has absolutely zero killing potential, especially when compared to the other shotguns on this list. Its ability to make soft destruction is nice, but as you'll see with literally every other shotgun in this video, they're also able to make destruction easily as well. The destruction with the Bailiff is arguably the hardest to make, as the spread from the bullets is the shortest compared to every other shotgun, and it's a revolver shotgun, giving you the least amount of ammo to make your rotate. Still a usable shotgun nonetheless, as it is a secondary shotgun and you should be bringing it on everybody that does bring it, but compared to other primary shotguns, it just doesn't really compete. The same exact thing can be said for our next secondary shotgun on the list, which is the ITA-12S secondary shotgun. This secondary shotgun is pretty nice, as it has a wider range than the Bailiff, as well as having more ammo, and it actually has some killing potential, but its killing potential is very minimum, especially compared to other shotguns on the list. Its rate of fire is also nothing to be too crazy about, and you have to reload each individual slug, which I will be docking off points in comparison to other shotguns where you have a magazine in today's video. Now that we've moved on from most of the secondary shotguns, let's move on to our first primary shotgun of the video at the start of D tier. This weapon at the bottom of D tier being the SASG-12. There are two things that make this gun semi-viable. First of all, it has a high fire rate that allows you to stack up pretty much as much damage in the same amount of time as pump shotguns, but because you might miss some bullets, it's really not as reliable as a pump shotgun. It also does have a magazine reload, making it to where reloading is a lot easier and faster, but everything else about this shotgun is pretty bad. The crosshair on the shotgun is a little bit smaller, making it to where destruction isn't as easy to make, but because of its rate of fire and amount of ammo, that's not that big of a deal. But the damage on this thing absolutely sucks compared to other damages, and from a distance, the damage drop-off is pretty insane, especially compared to other shotguns that we'll be going over in the A and S tier of this video. Moving on from the SASG-12, let's talk about the next weapon in the middle of D tier, which is the M1014 shotgun. This is the shotgun that comes on Pulse, Castle, and Ace. If you're curious, this is the shotgun that comes on the FBI operators as well as like Ace, I'm pretty sure, but this shotgun is very, very mid. Again, high rate of fire, which is something you don't want in a shotgun due to it being inconsistent and lacking damage. If you wanted a high rate of fire weapon that you could use to kill people, you would just run an SMG, but the entire point of running a shotgun is to be able to get one pump kills, which makes it a lot safer to take those close range engagements, especially when you take into account things like ping and server latency issues. So because it is a high rate of fire shotgun, it definitely finds itself lower. Its damage isn't as bad as other shotguns we'll be going over in this list, but after a certain amount of range, this shotgun suffers a lot, which means it's not good for close range fights unless you're just hitting really good shots onto your enemy, and long range fights, it suffers. It takes too long to reload, and it's a high rate of fire shotgun, meaning that its damage also suffers a lot. A shotgun that suffers just the exact same issue as this one, though, is the last shotgun in the D tier, which is the Super 90. If you played in Operation Black Ice or a little bit after, you know that the Super 90 used to be the best shotgun in the game because its range of its damage was very good and consistent, but that is no longer the case. This gun may have high rate of fire, but again, just like other high rate of fire weapons, it suffers because its damage is low. It has low damage consistently close range, as well as from long range. One thing about shotguns that are good when you have high rate of fire shotguns is that they're good at making sight setup and rotations, so it does have that going for it, but beyond that, this shotgun is pretty bad. Let's go over the C tier. At the bottom of the C tier, we have Ella's shotgun, the FO12. This gun is pretty good because it has the highest rate of fire out of pretty much any other shotgun in the game, and it has a magazine reload, meaning the reload time is not bad at all. One of the main issues I have with this weapon is its spread. Its spread is very, very bad, making it to where long range gunfights are pretty much impossible, but because it does have a high spread and a high rate of fire, making sight setup with this shotgun is absolutely amazing and easy to do. One thing that does suffer with this shotgun is its damage, like I said, but I do think because you're able to run extended barrel, its damage over range isn't actually that bad. One thing that does suck about this shotgun, no matter matter what you run on it though, is its recoil, especially when you're ADS, which you should be with every shotgun. This gun is pretty hard to use. One thing I also want to mention when I'm going over any shotgun in this game is when I'm talking about their damage, I'm going to be talking about their damage ADS and not their damage as hip fire, because you actually have a tighter spread on any shotgun you shoot when you're ADS, making the damage much more consistent when you aim down your sights. I also want to mention that I'm only going to be aiming at chin level, because aiming at somebody's chin is the best way to get the most amount of damage consistently throughout any shotgun, because you have some bullets hitting the body while the other bullets hit their head, making it to where aiming at their chin is actually the best place you can aim. With that out of the way though, let's go over the final shotgun in the C tier, which is the Super Shorty. The reason that a secondary shotgun finds itself as high as it is purely because of its damage. The one thing that does suck about the shotgun is it only has 3 bullets, but beyond that, everything else about this shotgun is amazing. First of all, its damage close range is very good. I often use this thing to take close range gunfights as it consistently will one-shot kill people. Even its damage over range is some of the best that we'll see in this entire tier list. Its soft destruction is also great as the crosshair is pretty wide when you're un-ADS'd, which is why the Super Shorty finds itself at least higher than some primary shotguns, but because of its bullet count, lower than most of the other ones. Moving on to the B tier, these are about your average shotguns that you should be using unless there's a better primary option in the game. The first of which being the Spaz 15. The Spaz 15 is one of those high rate of fire shotguns, which again is why I put it lower on the list than maybe other ones in this video, but even though it has a high fire rate, it still actually has pretty good damage compared to other guns that have a high fire rate but lack that damage, which is why I actually put it higher than some other shotguns on this list. Not only is it consistently pretty good with damage close range, but long range it doesn't suffer that much. It also has a magazine reload, making it to where reloading is pretty seamless, and its soft destruction is pretty nice. The only issue with this gun is its recoil can seem like a lot, and even though it might seem like one pumping people from long range is consistent, when you're ADSing in a gunfight and recoil is involved and both of you are moving, the damage is pretty inconsistent, which is why you really just need to start running pump shotguns instead of shotguns with high fire rates. Because of that, let's talk about the Spaz 12. The Spaz 12, in my opinion, I think is highly underrated. It has a tight spread, meaning that you can one-shot people from close range very consistently. It does have a moderately slow recoil time, but as you can see, it's easily able to destroy surfaces consistently as well. At longer ranges, it can still pump people for over 100 damage, meaning it's pretty lethal if you're able to hit your shots. Definitely not one of the best pump shotguns in the entire game, but definitely underrated in my opinion, as its raw damage output and its ability to make soft destruction is nicer than a lot of other shotguns on this list. But I don't think it's quite as good as the next pump shotgun on this list, which is the ITA-12L shotgun that comes on Mira. This shotgun is pretty nice. The spread isn't that bad, the rate of fire, even though it's a pump shotgun, is not that bad, the recoil is not that bad, and best of all, the damage is pretty consistent from a close range. I will say the one thing that does suck about this gun is it takes forever to reload. I'm almost certain it actually has the longest reload time out of any shotgun in the game, or at least one of the longest. When making soft destruction, this thing isn't the best, but still good enough, and from a long range, it actually is more consistent than other shotguns we'll be going over in this video. Overall, because of its damage, especially over range, I had to put it high in the B tier, but not quite as high as the final shotgun in the B tier, which is the M870. Some of you might not have been expecting the shotgun to be as low as it is, but high B tier is still pretty good considering there's only 5 other shotguns in this tier list. The M870 in terms of raw damage is great. It also doesn't have that tight of a spread, making it to where you can make soft destruction on sight pretty easily. For it being a pump shotgun as well, its shot reset time and fire rate isn't as bad as other pump shotguns, especially like the SBCQB shotgun that comes on Doc and Rook, so I do think this is one of the better shotguns in the game. Its reload time does suck, as you do have to reload every pellet instead of reloading a magazine, but compared to other shotguns, even that reload time is pretty short. One thing that I think is pretty underrated about this shotgun is its damage over range. It's pretty consistently high, which is why I put it as high as I did, but not quite as high as the guns in the A tier. These are shotguns that you start to use over actual primary weapons in the game because of how good they are. Not quite S tier, but definitely some of the best shotguns in the entire game. The first of which being the M590A1 shotgun that comes on all of the British operators, and Deimos. Now in terms of damage, this is very, very good. Especially over range, it is one of the most consistently high damage shotguns in the game. It is pump action, but I do think that doesn't really matter in a lot of gunfights, as again, it does consistently deliver high damage to where you don't need to be putting 4 or 5 shotgun shots into somebody to kill them. It's also great at making sight setup, as most other shotguns are, to be honest, and its spread is nothing that you really have to worry about. Whether it be making sight setup or killing people, its spread is very manageable. Just because of its pure damage and damage over range, I had to rate the shotgun as one of the highest on the list, but not quite as high as the SBCQB shotgun, which is the final shotgun in the A tier. The SBCQB, otherwise known as the French shotgun, is a shotgun that does a lot of damage. It consistently actually does the second highest amount of damage for any shotgun in the game in this video. The reason that I did put it lower is because it is a pump shotgun and is actually one of the slowest pump shotguns in the game in terms of shot reset and pure fire rate. I understand you might be thinking that, well, all shotguns are the same because they're single shot weapons. That's not necessarily the case. Pump shotguns and semi-auto shotguns are different, as some shotguns that are semi-auto are about as fast as you can click, whereas pump shotguns like this one are as fast as the person on the screen reloads every single bullet. It's one of the slowest firing shotguns in the game, but because of its amount of damage, it doesn't really matter. It also has a wide crosshair, meaning that you can make sight setup very effectively, but one thing that made me shoot this shotgun as high as I did up on this list is the fact that it does a lot of damage over range, especially compared to other shotguns in the game. It actually has the highest range shotgun out of a lot of other shotguns, not the highest, but like one of the highest, so I definitely think it deserves the A tier for me. But now that we're done with the A tier, let's go over the 3 shotguns that deserve the S tier, the 3 best shotguns in the game. At the bottom of S tier, and a shotgun I guarantee you nobody was expecting to be as high as it is the 612 shotgun that comes on Ying. This shotgun is amazing. Most people don't realize it because they didn't realize that it got buffed, but it has been buffed since its release, and because of that, its damage is enormous. It actually has one of the highest damages in the entire game. I understand it does have low ammo count, but because you do reload it per clip instead of having to reload every single bullet, its reload speed is actually very quick, so it having low ammo doesn't really matter. It also has a wide enough crosshair to where making soft destruction on it is viable, but one of the best part about this shotgun is, again, its damage. Not only its damage close range being absolutely monstrous, but its damage over long ranges too is even crazier. Not only is it a lot being in the 300 range, but it's consistently a lot, only dipping down to 100 or less than 100 maybe a few times. Most people don't realize this shotgun is good because most people don't realize this shotgun has been buffed numerous times, which is why I do think it deserves the S tier, just like the next shotgun in the game, which is the SD12, but the silenced version. The 612 SD is literally the exact same as the past shotgun we went over, but it does have a built-in suppressor with no downsides, meaning it's the exact same, but just slightly better, which is why I put it just slightly above the last shotgun on this list. Now, those 2 shotguns, I guarantee you were surprised to see as high as they are. But a shotgun I guarantee you everybody was expecting to be the best shotgun in the entire game is the #1 spot at the top of S tier, which is the Supernova. The Supernova quite literally has it all. For being a pump action shotgun, it has a pretty high rate of fire. It has a very manageable spread as well, meaning that even if you're not ADS, you can get a lot of damage out of this thing. I find that even over 10 meters, I can un-ADS shotgun people and down them very consistently. It also is able to make rotations for yourself or sight setup very easily. And for the #1 thing that makes this shotgun as good as it is, we have its damage. Close range, there is not a single shotgun in the game that does as much damage as this one. Even over longer ranges, there is not a single shotgun that does as much damage as this one. The crazy part about this shotgun too is you don't even have to be ADS'd for this shotgun to do the most damage. You can hip fire this shotgun from 5 meters or 10 meters or even 20 and it do more damage than most other shotguns in the game. Meaning not only is it the best shotgun in the game for damage, but it's also the best shotgun in the game for newer players, as you don't really have to be hitting a lot of your shots or be ADS'd at the right place to be able to down people or even instant kill them. I don't think anybody is surprised that the Supernova is the #1 shotgun in the game. It's widely considered to be by most players who know what they're talking about, which is why I put it at the top of S tier. But with that out of the way, let me know if you disagree with anything. My name's Alka. Check out this next video, and I hope I'll see you there.